always stay a student, always be someone who's looking to receive value, and be humble. Be humble about it. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, doesn't matter what you've gone through, and it doesn't matter who they are. If they know how to do something that you don't, I think it's easy for you to leverage that and find some kind of way where you can, bring value to them so that they can allow that to spill over into your cup a little bit.
Here's episode number 3 of the Wealth Creators Podcast. By the way, I just created the name maybe a couple hours ago. So this is the first time with the new name, Wealth Creators Podcast, where we show you how to start building your wealth. And for aspiring entrepreneurs who want to get started and get to that financial freedom, to that financial success, we're here to give you some tips and tricks on how to do that. And today we have on the show, Mr. Mychal Fox. How you doing, Mike?
Pretty good. How you doing, boss?
Good. I'm awesome. So thing is, I probably met Mike. Well, not met. I talked to him. Maybe was it a week ago?
Yeah.
So just a week, about a week ago. And then I'm like,
in the DMs.
And the DMs, slid through the DMs. And I said, yo, you should hop on a podcast. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So here we are. Know nothing about him. He knows nothing about me. But ways. I love his energy. I love his vibes. I love what he's posting online and the things he's putting out there. So I thought I'd have him on and just have a chat, just have an interview and get to know you and what you've been through in your journey. And from just our small chat just a couple of minutes ago, I feel like there's some powerful, good stuff. All right, cool. So
definitely
Mike
got a story, man.
Definitely got a story. So we'd love to hear it. Okay, Mike. So I do got a couple questions that I'd like to ask people. So I guess you could just first start off by just introducing yourself really and telling us what you do right now.
Well, I guess we can just drop a pin in the middle of it. So I would say right now I'm a Las Vegas content coach. Pretty much stationed here in Las Vegas. I do some traveling with entrepreneurs who need some freelance work and stuff alongside of them, wherever they're going, New York, Miami, wherever like that. But right now, pretty much, I am helping a lot of creators, a lot of solopreneurs who are trying to leverage social media and they don't know where to start when it comes to video content specifically. So with my background, I've been doing videos since I was 12. I started off doing videos, making little stop motion animations with Legos, with your VCR and your camera and all that kind of stuff. And literally would take up my entire summer in middle school, just kind of getting this stuff, to a minute or 2 minutes of a video. So I grew into becoming a creative just through trial and error, just seeing a lot of different things and just trying different things, being inspired by other people doing it. And then as social media started coming up, after YouTube and people started becoming vloggers and all that stuff, and then short form with Instagram and now Facebook and TikTok, it really took me to another level of what storytelling really was. Because for me, storytelling is what really got me hooked into video making and seeing how I can inspire people through how you can put these different pieces of video, music, sound effects, storyline, character development, and create something that pretty much just takes your message and communicates that to whoever's watching. And I love how you can connect with so many people through one-time efforts. And I've been trying to leverage this system and developing this system and just kind of optimizing this system for smaller creators and people who are just now getting into the space of social media so that they can just not just make it another task, but it becomes an enjoyable process for them. So I love meeting these guys. I love talking to businesses that are passionate about what they're doing and they really want to connect with their prospects or customers. And I love learning their story so then I can help them to translate that into video content for themselves in a unique and original way.
Wow. Well, that's so awesome. And I guess that's why, I vibed and connected with you so fast because, the things you're putting out there, it feels like, I don't know how to really explain it, but what the content you put out there, obviously educational, but it also feels like, you're really connecting with the audience on a deeper level, right? So basically, what you're doing as well is you're helping other individuals, content creators, entrepreneurs, business owners do that for themselves. So are you in a way like helping them craft their story into the message online?
Well, I don't necessarily help them craft their story as much as I help them to find their own story.
Find their own story.
Right. So I'm more of a guide than I am someone who's just like over you, just telling you what to do.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time with my clients, whether we do like Zoom calls like this, or if they're here local in Vegas, I'll go and spend some time with them, talk with them, just like how we are right now.
Yeah.
Just having a normal conversation as you would with friends. And that breaks down a lot of those, you know, thoughts and barriers that they have that they don't even intentionally have on purpose, but it allows me to kind of allow them to relax. And as they relax, they start letting out a lot more of their vulnerabilities, which is really what people connect with, which is really what people relate to, and which is honestly what makes them want to like see you as the creator, you as the business owner, you as the person who I'm helping to like, they want to see you succeed. They want to see like what their potential future might be for themselves, because they see themselves in whoever's creating that content. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of this discovery came from just looking back into my own past and just seeing how I need to communicate with my past self. You know, where was I struggling with, you know, like in the back when it comes to video content, when it comes to communicating my message, when it comes to talking to people in front of the camera. These are all different little things. You combine them all together, it really creates like a whole nother energy or vibe that people can really feel and see on camera.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So you did mention something about Lego, right? I see it on your hat right here, right? Is that
Well,
made from Lego?
it is actually. It is actually. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a Lego enthusiast, but Legos definitely have a big part of my history when it comes to being a creator.
Yeah.
So I got this idea. I saw this on a random site like years ago. And I just thought like, man, wouldn't this be a great marketing tool just to kind of get people to just ask questions like, oh, what is that? Is that
What
a
is
Lego
that?
hat?
Yeah.
Start conversations. You know, there's so many times where I've gone on a plane and I've had this hat on, and you know, I'm 6'2", I'm a pretty built guy, and a lot of people don't want to come up to me and talk to me randomly.
Yeah.
But
With
this
a
hat
hat.
breaks that ice, man. I am telling you.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's
Oh
so
man.
cool.
So a question from the audience might be, where do I buy that hat?
So this hat, specifically, you can get these hat obviously on Amazon. You can just type in Lego hat.
Oh
But
really? They have that?
yeah, they do.
Oh
You can
shoot.
type in Lego hat, you can find it. It's crazy how easy it is to Google things these days. But the website that I got it from back in the day was called Elope, ELOPE.com. And
Elope.
I believe that they still do it themselves, but I think you can get it faster through Amazon because, you know,
Yeah,
you
because
can
it's
like,
Amazon. It's
it's Amazon.
Amazon. Exactly. It's Amazon. So of
Mhm.
course you probably could get that. So it's a play button. So is that representing like YouTube or anything like that? Or
So I want people to see how simple it is just to start recording and start getting into creating video content for themselves.
yeah.
So for me, this represents just hitting play, just hitting start, just
Just
going
hitting
for it.
play.
So part of my slogan is hit record, you
Hit
know,
record.
and your content made easy.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you just got to start, man. You just gotta just set up the camera and just start talking. You know, when you meet new people on the side, you don't really think about what you're going to say when you just come up to someone. You kind of just say hello and then just wherever it goes.
Exactly.
You know,
Just
it's
like
just a
right now.
conversation.
Just like right now.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And a lot of people want to prepare and perfect and take everything that they can to prolong the intense anxiety situation that they're creating in their head when it comes to being in front of a camera. And honestly, if you can control a couple different things, which we can talk about that if you'd like, you can actually take yourself from this level of anxiety to an experience where it's more pleasurable and you actually look forward to stepping in front of the camera and giving your opinions and your struggles and all those things that you think that people are going to judge you for, just allowing that to kind of melt away and be a release for you. It can actually be very therapeutic.
Wow.
I've over the years have used capturing content, not even though I'm not even sharing everything yet, through vlogs, through
Yeah,
YouTube and
yeah.
stuff like that. And just kind of keeping it in the back end for now, Gary Vee style, as you should say, document everything.
Okay, document everything. Yeah.
And I would then just kind of just be vulnerable. I would just talk to the camera as if it was a friend. I would just capture these moments and I would forget about these moments, until later I go back and I'm like, man, that's such a great reminder. And then I'll take that and maybe I'll change a couple things to kind of personalize it for those who are watching and reinstate that again. So being able to capture these things is gold. It doesn't matter if you want to post that exact video. You want to make sure that you are at least capturing it and talking about it and allowing yourself to release that. So maybe it might be something later, but either way, it's something that you can know that you've been able to release. And that does something up here when it comes to your stress, your anxiety of being in front of a camera, of knowing what to say in front of a camera with certain people. It's really amazing that just by putting in the reps and being consistent with this, kind of like journaling,
Journaling, yeah.
making little affirmations and stuff, doing it in front of the camera is very huge because you're saying those words, you're verbalizing that stuff, and you're putting your emotion behind it. So it can get very
It's a therapeutic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Very therapeutic. So that's so awesome. That I never viewed stepping in front of a camera as therapeutic for myself. And maybe this, and I have a bunch of questions now that we're on this topic of like, creating video content, because I've always viewed video content as just like, it's just work I gotta do. Never something, and I feel like would you say that most people, that's how they view it? Like, it's just like, oh, this is just something I have to do, not something like I enjoy to do, right? And I feel like,
I feel the same way about editing.
yeah, okay.
That's
Okay.
where the work comes in.
Okay, that's where. So do you edit all your videos yourself?
Right now, I do.
Yeah.
But I'm also creating an SOP, a standard operating procedure
Yeah.
for any editors that I want to bring on. And also I'm creating an ebook where I can kind of train people to do it for themselves, like what I do for my videos and how simple it is, because I'm all about simplicity.
The simplicity. Yeah.
I actually edit a lot of my videos on my phone, to be honest. Like I found apps that you can use that speed up the process of captions, of graphics,
of all that
sound,
all that good
all
stuff.
of that stuff. Oh my gosh, man.
Oh, true.
So easy.
Yeah. So yeah, we should definitely talk then. You're headed in this world of like business. But before we even like go deeper into that topic, so just to recap everything, like, you're a video content coach, right? That's what it is? That's how that's what you're putting yourself out there. And you've been helping business owners, I guess, such as myself. Would you say that most of them are coaches, or just any type of business owner? Like, what's the target audience that you're really trying to capture?
My target audience would be coaches, consultants, speakers, and experts,
Okay.
professionals in their field who are kind of doing everything themselves, like they are their brand. I do help business owners who have small businesses or online businesses, but it's not like I'm helping like corporations. I'm trying to help individuals kind of tell their story or to find the message and mission statement of their business so that they can communicate that to their audience and then create like a community where everyone feels like they're a part of whatever the goal is or whatever the direction is, and that they can all head towards that in the same kind of energy, the same kind of mindset. So that's kind of my focus. Those are the people who I'm trying to help. They have something that they want to share and they want to connect people to do something either bigger than themselves, or they have some kind of message that they're trying to get out.
Okay. And that's what you help them with. Help them. Not we did mention not crafting, but being the guide for them, right? To allow them to step into their story.
I pretty much ask them the right questions so that they can kind of just they can create their story from what pieces that they have already. I'm not trying to guru them into someone that they're not. I'm really just trying to take who they are, weaknesses, strengths, all those things that they think are boring, and show them that honestly, there's a way for you to package this so that people are out there who can connect exactly with who you are, and they want to.
Yeah. And so now you have this business that you're doing. Prior to, were you always like business minded, or not really?
Oh man, when I was a kid, I used to go to the Dollar General store with my mom when I was in high school and middle school, and I would get this little shoebox. Okay, I get this little shoebox, and we would go in. I wouldn't take the shoebox in, of course, but we would go into the dollar store and we'd buy these packs of candy bars for $1, and they would have about like 15, sometimes 20 little fun size Snickers and stuff, the ones that you use for Halloween. And I would put them in the shoebox, get them all nice and cool, and then go to school with this shoebox filled with like little fun size candy bars. After lunch, okay, all these kids, all my peers, they were all like, they have all the spare change and they're still like hungry, you know, they want to get a little snack, a little sugar high. I would come around with that shoebox, and all these kids would come up to me and be like, hey man, how much for this Snicker, how much for this, and all this stuff. And I would sell each of these for like $0.25, you know.
You bought it for
So,
how much?
and I bought a pack of like 10 or sometimes 20 for $1. So
Okay.
yeah,
See.
so I was making some pocket change, you know, but I've always had that idea of just kind of doing those kind of things. And
Yeah, these little side hustles.
yeah,
Yeah.
even with videos too, man. For my high school, they ended up hiring me to go around to the other middle schools, the other high schools, the other elementary schools. And this is while I was in high school.
Yeah.
During the school day, they gave me permission to leave school and then travel to other schools to capture
Really?
video of the crowding of the buildings, like how many students there were, to kind of help the development of the school district so that they can get funding through tax dollars from the community to build more schools, which now I go back and they have new high schools, they have new middle schools, and it just feels good to know that I had a effect on the Board of Education of kind of helping them to grow just by getting that message out.
Damn. So I mean, like, man, if I was in high school, I can remember now too. Like, if I had that opportunity to like just leave, that must have felt awesome.
It felt like it's nice to know that people trust you. And
Yeah.
I grew up in a neighborhood where no one looked like me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
And so for them to trust someone like me, you know, was
you?
kind of like, it was huge,
Yeah.
you know. I had to really just kind of, as growing up, my dad was military, and then I was also military, as we talked before this. So we moved around a lot, and a lot of the communities that we moved to, you know, there weren't a lot of people who look like me. So it was very I had to get out of my shell a lot, and business, I guess, was the way that I did that, because networking skills, all those kind of things, moving from school to school, all that kind of stuff, the military lifestyle,
Yeah.
really taught me to come out of my shell. Even though I am a extreme introvert, I think a lot of editors are. I think you guys can relate, right? I had to learn the hard way of just like, I had to be outside of myself. People would naturally come up to me at the time just because, you know, I'm different, but at the same time, they would also shun me because I'm different. And I had to either just be by myself, or if I wanted to have some interactions, I had to step outside and be the one to create those interactions. So that was a way for me to, I guess, naturally get out of my comfort zone, meet new people who wanted to create videos, and just try and play. And then that was my way of that was my playground, you know, of just using the camera as my mask to kind of get away from, you know, being different. It was a way for me to connect with everybody. That was a mutual ground. No matter who you were, a camera was cool back then. You know, it still is now. Yeah. But back then it's like, oh, well, you make videos, you're on YouTube, all this kind of stuff. It just broke the ice so easily that people wanted to get to know who I was as a person more. And then that always opened up opportunities for me to start a business, to start, you know, creating something that somebody wanted to pay me for.
Yeah. And did you ever see yourself like doing what you're doing now? Like, was this always like, I like you said since 12, you've always like played around with a video camera, but did you ever see yourself? You saw yourself, I'm assuming, like something in the space, like video space, right? But
I saw myself more as, I was big into, what was it? It's not. It's like the kid version of SNL that was on Nickelodeon back in the time. I think it was called All That. Do you remember that show?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
remember a little bit of that. Yeah.
yeah, where they used to have like Keenan and Kel, and then like Amanda Bynes, and like all these other people who I have no idea what they're doing now. But that show really inspired me because it was like all these kids who were at my age at the time who were just fearless in front of the camera, acting and being crazy. And I love that energy, you know? So I
Yeah.
always wanted to be that type of creator when it came to YouTube. I wanted to do that on YouTube, have my own TV show and just play around and stuff like that.
Yeah, just play
and
around.
and growing up, I didn't know that social media was going to become a thing. You know, none of us did. Facebook came out when I was in college,
Yeah.
and I was looking more of just being a filmmaker. Everyone wanted to be a filmmaker where I was coming from.
Where you're
You
coming
want,
from? Mhm.
yeah, because YouTube is like, oh, I'm going to put my films on there, and then maybe I can be in a movie theater and do all this kind of stuff if I work with certain people or someone discovers me and all that kind of stuff. But it obviously changed very quickly to not trying to be in a theater, but to, you know, make your own thing. Like, we didn't even know what YouTube was even becoming when it first came out. I started following people like Casey Neistat, you know.
Yeah, Casey is great. Great
Mm-hmm.
content, great storyteller,
Mm-hmm. I
right?
was hooked in by his storytelling, and I was hooked in by the fact that he didn't really have a script, like a film script. It was more that he like created a different genre, which obviously was called vlogs. And we just started documenting our lives. And I started a YouTube channel called Later Fox 27,
Still up, it's still
which
on.
it's still on. I haven't
Still on.
added anything to that page for like years, dude. I haven't added anything to that page for like years. And I started like just posting like random little video clips there. And when I met Casey, that's when I got into vlogging, and I started a YouTube channel called Mike Life, which
Right.
I have so much footage backlogged ready to post on that. But I've been doing Mike Life since all the way up to the point to when I was in the military. So I started doing that and posting and bringing a little handheld camera with me everywhere I went, to church, to school, to my parents, to my girlfriends at the time and stuff like that. And everyone got used to me just having this camera everywhere. Okay. So it was a very extroverted, introverted experience for me.
Yeah.
And just like how we spoke about, like how I let those vulnerabilities kind of come out, that was part of my process, was actually vlogging those things, which I didn't release everything, obviously, but a lot of that stuff I can still go back to right now. And it can really help to kind of push me through my stuck periods. Because just like you mentioned before, like, how did I get here? You know, that's how I got here, was journaling and keeping track of what it is that I'm going through, especially the hard times, you know, the things that kind of pull us back, the things that we don't really understand in the moment, or the storms that are pushing us back and we don't know why, the resistance that we have whenever we're trying to get something. Those things are what made me stronger. Those things are what build my mindset, and those things are what create opportunities that wouldn't have been there if I wouldn't have gone through those storms to build up the strength in the first place.
Yeah. So when you say military, so like, because like obviously I know very little of the military. So in the military, there are, and you did it for how long? How long did you like serve for? Serve for? Is that how you say
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
So I was in the military for 4 years.
four
Yeah.
years. Okay, four
Yeah. I wasn't
years.
sure what kind of question you're going to ask, so I didn't want to
Yeah, yeah.
keep
I
going.
wasn't really, so like military is divided into like
Multiple branches.
multiple branches. So like there's Marines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
There's
Marines.
Marines, there's Coast Guard, there's Army, there's Air Force, and
So which one were you?
I'm not sure if there's one more. I think that's
This.
it. I think
Okay.
I don't know if Space Force counts right now, but
Not
they just came
yet.
out with that.
Not yet. After Elon, maybe later when Elon takes us all.
Well, actually, there is a Space Force with the Air Force now. The Air Force
Oh, is there?
has
Oh,
created a
really?
Space Force, yeah, which is kind of ironic with that whole Steve Carell show that's on online right now, called Space Force, if you ever heard of that.
No, I
But
haven't. I
yeah,
haven't.
it's I haven't watched a lot of it, but it's just funny to me because being a former Air Force person, it's just like,
Oh, okay. So you were
yeah,
you were the Air Force. That's what
I
you were.
was the Air Force. Yes.
Oh,
I was a broadcast journalist in the Air Force. So like a news reporter who can shoot, film, do radio, all that kind of stuff. So I
Oh,
got that
okay.
training from the military.
Got it. So that's cool. So even in so even like when you joined the military, you were still in this field of like video in
Yeah,
a
that's
sense.
the only reason why I joined the military,
Oh,
was
really?
because they actually had a job that had some type of creativity where I didn't have to
Oh,
just do grunt work and stuff. So my dad was
yeah.
pushing me to do that for a long time, and I needed a firm foundation to kind of build on, because I was very internally rebellious. I found out with myself that there's a lot of things that I don't want to do unless I feel passionate about it. And you know how you have that energy when you like you're really into something and you just kind of lock in, and it's like a flow state, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can go hours without eating, going to the bathroom, even sleeping, and you're just working hard because you just feel a connection with what you're doing, either with who you're working with or the actual project that you're working on. And so for me, I did not want to be in a situation where I'm locked into some type of contract or agreement where I had to do some type of work or spend my time doing something that I didn't enjoy. So I
Yeah.
made sure to find something in the Air Force that was, very, that solidified my character, and also brought out my best work, my best self. So that was broadcast journalism, which pretty much was videography, a fancy
Basically.
way, of saying videography. And they also mixed it in with public affairs, journalism, photography, and just other little creative aspects that kind of tied in.
So
So
you're a man who has a jack of all trades in
yeah,
that
yeah,
space.
yeah,
That
yeah.
space at least.
There's other stories too, but yeah.
Yeah. So then, when it comes to entrepreneurship, like you said, you've always like did those side hustles as a kid with the candy, right?
Hmm.
And you did mention like at age 12, you found this like video thing, right? So would you say like for the longest time you've always felt that passion? Like you've always had a passion, or was there like a part of your life where maybe that passion disappeared, or you weren't too sure if this is really what you wanted to do?
I would say I've always had the passion to tell stories and connect people together,
Hmm.
to kind of like help people to understand different perspectives. Um, I would say that the struggles kind of came when people started wanting to pay me for my services, and I didn't
Mm.
understand how to transition from passion to business
From
without
passion.
without losing the passion and getting burned out.
Uh,
I would say that's a constant struggle, and I think it's a lot of things that it's a lot of pain that I see in a lot of creators today, is that they want to do what they love, but they want to get paid for it, and they're trying to understand how to make that transition into that type of lifestyle. What is it that you need to do? As Gary Vee would say, you got to eat a whole bunch of shit
basically, you
and
gotta eat a
and
bunch of
and
shit.
and just kind of just drive through that. For me, there's an extent of how much I can eat without getting sick. And because I will put so much of myself when I'm working with someone, especially new, to kind of get to that point where, okay, now I have some more time freedom to kind of do what I want to do on the side. um that I would do way too much work. I would say that I would do this much work, and it would end up dragging on, because a lot of the people I would work with, they didn't understand the process of what that work entailed. They didn't
Mhm.
understand how fast your legs were kicking under the water as you look nice and poised above the water, as a swan or a duck. All they
Yeah.
see is the end result. All they see is when you're there with the camera. They don't see the editing, they don't see the creative mind, they don't see, the hours of trying to understand their brand and all that. And that was a hard struggle for me to figure out, how do I communicate this? How do I let them know that, hey, it's more than just click, download, here you go. It's a whole masterpiece of a process that takes really understanding and diving deep into what the results need to be, plus the style and all this. I mean, you as an editor, and I'm sure your audience knows as well, but I feel the pain comes from just that gap of not understanding between the creator and the prospect or the client, and just kind of how do we communicate that? How do we talk to them about, this is a lot more than what you think, and this is why it costs this much? Because for me, it was like going from charging like $100 for a video to being on a retainer for like $10,000 a month, you know? So it's like, how do you communicate that to creators? Like, you don't need to just go out and find someone to pay you $100 for one little video. You know, you can create a system, but you have to be able to communicate what's in that system, so that the person who's going to hire you and work with you, they are going to be like, oh yeah, I want that, you know, which to them is pain freeness, right? They just want to step away and just know that it's done and handled. So what are you offering to them to give them that painless experience? You know, it's not just the video, it's the results, right? And the time back that they want.
It's so opportunity cost, right?
Exactly. And that was a huge struggle for me to learn, because I would have people just constantly coming back after they paid me $100, like, hey, can you fix this? Hey, can you edit this? Hey, can you add this?
But
hey, can we also
but they don't really get like what's all behind it, the creativity, the everything behind it. That makes sense.
They didn't understand.
Yeah, and the same thing with me. Like, I have a video, I have a digital marketing agency, right? So a lot of the stuff, a lot of, like, video is hot right now, especially in my business. Man, everybody wants someone to edit their videos and just have that hands off. But a lot of the times people undervalue what we're doing, right? Had a guy, I'm not going to put names out there, but there's this individual who was saying, like, it's just a video, like, it shouldn't take that long. I'm like, man, you don't understand. Like, I mean, I told him, like, there's a reason why you're reaching out to me, because you can't manage it. You can't do it. You can't post daily by yourself, because that's not your zone of genius. Right. That's what that's what I love. That's what I like to do for people. I help them step into their zone of genius and let us take care of the tedious things that's not in their zone of genius. That way they can, you know, stay fulfilled doing what they love doing. I feel like that's where a lot of the burnout comes from. Especially when I first started as well. It's like, I came from a background of finance, helping people with teaching them about financial literacy, helping them with investments, credit, all that good stuff. But then when it came to like creating content and like editing videos and like building websites, I'm like, that's where I started to like get burned out, because I'm like, I don't know none of these things, but I know I have to do it. Right. And so the digital marketing business started off by accident, because I created the team for myself. And then other people were like, hey, can we get those same videos that you have? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
I can totally relate to that, man. I can totally relate to that, because now that I'm like looking back, just like how you just explained, and I'm connecting these dots, a lot of this stuff was created just for myself. You know, I wanted to be a YouTuber, and I just started copying different elements, and someone was like, hey, I like your style. Can you make a short little video for my business? Or can you come to the church and just film this and just make it inspirational or something like that? And that's when it started taking off into the more business realm.
Business realm. So you did mention a very interesting number. You said 10,000 a month retainer, right? So you do have clients on a retainer like that?
Last year I had a client who I worked with for about 6 months who would pay me about 10K a month. He paid me 10K a month to show up to his house and just be there to record and then create some videos for him every week. So that was the first time I ever had a retainer like that. And the first time I ever made that much. I would say for me, that was a very huge learning process, because I learned so much networking skill to get around people like him. He's a pretty big guy, and I'm not gonna drop his name, but
that's okay. You don't
but he would pretty much travel around and do speaking engagements. He's one of those types, you know.
Okay, got it.
And just one of those types, like, and I was pretty much his D-Rock, if that makes sense, if you know who that is. So I I went in with his team. He had a whole social media team, and they just needed a lot of video content of him, some new fresh stuff. And I came up with all these different just concepts and plans and strategies to kind of break down his brand and style and kind of create a routine that he could kind of just step into without really adding more effort on his part. You know, just me just showing up with the camera, asking him questions, setting up locations and stuff for him to just like, you know, show up at and just boom, knock things out. So that was a really great experience because that led to so many more connections where I started traveling with other entrepreneurs such as him, but on like maybe a smaller scale or just mid-tier scale. And they would use me from time to time, a couple times a month and stuff. So, but now what I'm realizing is I want more time.
Yeah.
I want more time.
Were you just following them like all over the place, basically?
I was
That is
just
time
always
consuming.
there. I was
All
always
right.
there. I was always at his mansion or over flying on a plane, going here, you know, sitting in baggage claim, waiting for my stuff. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
still having to edit to get things done. Like it sounded like a great experience, you know, back in the YouTube days, pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook. But it's so time consuming and there's no dating life that can survive that.
Okay, makes sense. Right. Yeah, but that's pretty crazy because a lot of people so what was that? Was that like what from 100 to 10,000, or like did you like work your way up to that price point? Because I guess that's a question I just want to ask you, and maybe you can enlighten the audience as well. Like, how does one like get over that fear of charging more?
So let me give you a little quick backstory to how I got to that point so that I can give some perspective.
Yeah.
So this is actually a story that I've just recently shared, but I actually got kicked out of the military.
Oh,
and yeah, okay. Actually got kicked out of the military. I got kicked out of the military when Las Vegas decided to be like, hey, you know, weed is now legal, right? So like everyone went crazy here. And when I moved off base, I ended up rooming with some civilians. That's what we call people who aren't in the military.
Civilians.
we call people civilians. And so I roomed with some civilians. I got a girlfriend and instantly just started getting distracted by them smoking all the time, you know? And obviously over time, I kind of like dwindled down my own mentality and just like, you know, what's 1 or 2 or 3. And I ended up
like what, 20?
Yeah. Well, well, what happened was that they do surprise little tests every once in a while in the military. And I ended up getting hit for one of those tests.
Shoot.
So there's a whole bunch of backstory to this, you know, like with like how it went down and how it should have gone and stuff like that. And I've totally grown past that. That's a story for another day. We can go deeper into that. But I would say that after I like getting kicked out of the military was actually probably one of the best things for me. Okay. And that's why I have to tell that story, because it gave me a kick in the teeth that made me really buckle down into what it is that I want to do. You know, what is it that I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing? Because I thought I was going to be doing the military for, you know, like at least like 10 years or so, just kind of build a stronger foundation. But being thrown out, especially in Vegas, I had to really figure things out quickly. So one of the people I worked with, he was a contractor, which is a civilian who's retired military, who goes back into the military and works for the military. So he was a contractor. And he had connections with people who worked in the film industry here in Vegas. The industry is called IATSE 720, IATSE. They have different branches, like different numbers all around the country. And IATSE stands for International Association of, I'm probably butchering that, but IATSE stands for some type of some film industry kind of thing like that.
Okay? Yeah. So that was your connection. That was your connection to.
That was my connection to that. And with that, I was able to sit in as a camera operator. So I would work as a camera operator in all these different convention spaces. So I'd be working at the Bellagio. I'd be working at I'd be working at Paris, and I'd be working at these different casinos, like all different casinos, Cosmopolitan, the Aria, Venetian, all these. And I
As a
still have
videographer,
as a camera operator.
a camera. Okay, camera
So
operator.
so
Yeah.
they say camera operator. Videographer more means like, I'm walking around handheld with the camera, which the camera operators do, but we have these big like tripods,
Okay.
the massive ones, so anyone that you see who's on stage, like I was a guy recording all that stuff. So if you see any of these big names or whatever, I've recorded a lot of these people that you see like their podcasts, or they take these footage and they make like their reels and stuff like that from. I've recorded a lot of that kind of stuff, or like from many different levels,
Yeah. So when you say operator, so I've been to some events. I've seen those like big machines, like those machines you've operated, like those type of machines.
The big cameras that
The
you see in
big,
the back of
like,
the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to set up, tear down, troubleshoot, kind of get all those things, all that kind of stuff. So they teach you that when you get started. And so I have everywhere from like military camera experience to professional grade camera experience to low end phone, like GoPro, all that kind of stuff. So I've learned and accumulated all these skills over time. But the whole reason why, being able to get to that 10K was being in those environments. Okay, as a camera operator, a lot of these people who work in the film industry, they kind of check out once their job is going. They do their little thing and they just kind of do their tasks throughout the show. For me, I educated myself with whatever that person was talking about on stage, and I would download that into my life, into whatever aspect I needed. So a lot of the shows that I was working on, which is what I loved, was a lot of networking events, a lot of business mindset events, a lot of the stuff that people were paying like $10,000, $5,000 a seat just to be there.
And you're getting it for free. And
I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid. This was a life hack, bro. I found a life hack of being able to work for these specific shows and then being able to go backstage and listen to the side conversations that a lot of these people are having. So during the breaks, I just go backstage and I'm just in my all black and I can just stand there with my cup of coffee and just listen to new ideas and new things,
high level conversations.
And I'm just a fly on the wall. They don't care who you are. They're just like talking their business. And I'm just like, this is rich. So I journal and write down things. And sometimes I'd even have conversations with them, which that's when one of those opportunities kind of presented itself. I was working on stage as a handheld camera operator with this gentleman.
Yeah.
And this was not the first time that I've worked with him. So I would say the second time he was very prone to kind of like, okay, who is this guy? I've seen him a couple of times. He's a big black dude with a camera in my face. I at least need to ask him what his name is. So we connected. He gave me, I gave him my card because he asked for it. And during COVID, he actually reached out to me during COVID and say, hey, what are you doing? And that's when that kind of like spun off. So during COVID, we started working together more intimately with just what he was trying to create as a brand and video and stuff. So that was a new concept for me, retainers and figuring out a number and all that stuff. So I kind of came up with this blanket number. I really just want to see like how much can I get? I just went in. I was just like, you know what?
10,000.
All he can say is that's too much or no, or he's the one who approached me, right? He needs this. So I decided to come in and I'm just like, I was like, hey, if I can get like, this much a year, I would say my number at the time I asked him was, I think it was like 200 and something thousand a year.
Oh, so you said
it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I was just like, if I get anything like within like a certain amount of range, I would accept less than that. You know what I'm saying at the time, but I just threw it at him, and he's like, that's a little bit more than I've paid a lot of my videographers. But what I can do is I can bring it down to like 120. Okay, so 120K.
So 10K a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, and I was just like, sure. I'll take that.
Damn,
I'll
that's
take that.
crazy. So like,
Yeah.
so actually, I don't know if you're aware of that term. It's a marketing to a sales term. It's called the price marinade. You ever heard of that before?
No, I did not.
So
Never heard of that.
so in sales, because I come from a sales background as well, I do a lot of stuff, right? And that's like a whole nother story. But like in sales, something called a price marinade, something that you could like you did it without knowing you did it. And so basically, it's like you marinate this price of like this high ticket price, right? Whatever price it is. You said 200,000, right?
Mhm.
And then in their head, they're like, yeah, that's a lot. And then when you counter offer with something lower, they're like, oh yeah, that's more reasonable. And so he countered offered you with 120, right? But if you started at 120, he would have brought you down to something a little lower,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right? And so what?
Definitely.
So when you got the 120 for the year, um, after you know whatever you signed some papers or whatever, or was it just like a verbal agreement,
Oh,
right?
we went through extensive paperwork.
Okay, so went through extent. Okay, so after you signed the
Yeah.
papers and everything, did you say to
Yeah.
yourself? Did you say to yourself like, man, I wish I charged a little more, or
I
were you content?
I was content
Mhm.
with the payment. I was definitely content with the payment. Um I would say the only thing I wasn't really content with was expectations.
Mm,
I didn't know what my expectations were, as in what his expectations for me were.
yeah.
He wasn't very clear with what he even wanted.
He just wanted a camera guy.
He's so wealthy. I became like a kind of like an accessory, just to be there just in case he needed me. So
Okay.
he wanted to try me out for 6 months because he also has a son that was in film school, and his
Hmm.
son ended up coming home after the 6 months and kind of taking over everything, and I kind of transitioned that over to him,
Okay.
which is totally fine. Me and his son have a great connection. I'm sure we're going to do some stuff together in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
But the whole time and the whole period of us working together, I've I learned so much, and there's so many things I could probably dive into with that, but just whatever you want to ask, just feel
Yeah,
free.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, man, it's this guy pretty much, he leads an event twice a year that caters to network marketers. Okay. And
Mm,
they see him as like the end all meets all when it comes to information, when it comes to getting your business started and getting your stuff off the ground. Um and he is such a huge energy. Like
mm.
in proximity with this guy, you literally just bleed osmosis from him. Like you literally
I
just
feel like I know who it is now.
you might.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Is it Eric Ward?
Yeah.
Oh shoot, that's big.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because you said
Yeah.
network marketing event. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit. So then, damn, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a rich guy, very wealthy guy.
Yeah.
Damn. So no, it's crazy because I actually did my first event in Cancun, Mexico, just a couple of weeks ago. Like May 20 to 25, I did my first like in-person event with a small group of people. And there was obviously like some AV people, right?
Mhm.
And in the back of my head, I was thinking, I'm like, man, this AV guy is gonna get so much value because like he's gonna listen, but then this guy's just on his phone. He's not really paying attention,
That's
and
how they
only
all are, man. That's how they
yeah.
all
And
are.
and so when you said that, like you're actually like paying attention, you're actually listening, you're downloading this information. I'm
Hmm.
just like, that's how I thought most people would be, but that's not the case, and that's so crazy. And
They
that's why
really just show up, get their paycheck, and go home, dude.
yeah,
That's
and that
really it.
then it just like boggles my mind that like you hear all these like amazing things, these crazy things. Like sometimes the numbers that they say, it just you can't even comprehend sometimes. You're like, what? Like how's that like is that even a real number? Like how does one make that on a conversation? Right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so you would think like you'll get people inspired, get people motivated, right? But not really. Like you said, they zone out, you can say something like that. They just do the work that they're hired to do and then move on, right?
That's it. That's
And
it.
yeah, and so like I guess like what type of mindset do you think um again, not saying that we're like anyone's better than other people, but like what type of mindset do you think is what's the different mindset that you have, I guess, versus just like in other individuals that would just zone out just to do their work? Is it a drive? Is there some internal thing like causing you to like, I need to download this
Well,
information?
I had a destination for my life in mind already. You know, when I joined the military and left everything, my family, my friends, my past, and came to Vegas by myself, no support system, nothing. Ended up getting kicked out of the military, being completely by myself, knowing that if I don't figure this out, I'd be on the streets, kind of just suffering, you know.
Yeah.
I had to dig myself out of a very dark place because my dad was Air Force, and for me to get kicked out was like instant shame was chasing me every single day. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a very dark and deep place that I had to crawl out of. So I started listening to a lot of motivational content just to kind of get my emotions fixed. And as I started getting my emotions fixed and I started seeing some changes with just, you know, how I was thinking and how I was processing things, and also working this opportunity, this film stuff, I started really paying more attention to the people who were in the places of life where I wanted to be. You know, I was staring them in the face with my camera, so might as well listen to what they have to say since they are in a place where I would love to be.
Yeah.
And some of these things started really connecting with me because their stories started sounding a lot like mine. And I started understanding like, wow, this person is, you know, he's excelling in content and doing all this stuff and speaking, and I know that I can speak like him. I have the skills. I have all of the skills that these guys have. You know, I just don't have the audience yet. I just don't have the time to put into creating all the content that I want to create to connect with these people. I can do this. I just need to learn what they're doing and just kind of duplicate that system. And once I started kind of making that little shift, that turned into huge shifts because the military, what they do, they break you down so far psychologically. And for me, being an introvert, I analyze everything, you know. So I learned how they broke me down and built me back up again. And I reinstated that whole process again outside of the military for myself when it came to education and it came to structure. I started working out and really getting back into building a mind-body connection, which created a lot more flow with my emotions, with my mindset, with my energy, so that each state, I started my day with like a better flowing state. And I was able to bust through a lot of the struggles and financial things that were piling up because I had to kind of catch up through the different shifts of finances, of getting kicked out to starting up something new and all that stuff. So that propelled me with like vengeance to build what I wanted. And that's how I ended up leveraging all these different networking opportunities and finding my way to Eric Worre and other different entrepreneurs after that. So it's really about making that switch. And once you really lock in what it is that you want, a lot of these guys that I've worked with, you know, they didn't have anything that they were chasing. They didn't have anything besides just meeting the bills and all that kind of stuff, which I did have, but I wanted something more. I wanted to bring something back to my family in Ohio. I wanted to bring a more solid foundation of like a real legacy to be able to leave behind for whatever family I decided to create for myself, you know. And I wanted to surround myself with friends who are all wanting to do the same thing or build something that's bigger than themselves, you know, start a community. So that's why I decided to stay out here in Vegas, not move back to Ohio and just with my tail between my legs. I wanted to make sure that if I'm going anywhere, that I'm bringing something with me, not going there to hopefully survive and live off of something that someone else has created.
Man, that's so interesting. So a lot of pain built up, obviously ever since getting kicked out, especially obviously your dad being in the military. And so, you know, in a way, it's kind of like did you feel like in a way it's like a slap in the face to him, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I respect my dad a lot. Me
Yeah.
and my dad have like the typical kind of father-son distance kind of connection,
I feel
but
you.
we still like have that connection, like
Yeah,
we can sit
yes.
we can, you sit in the car for hours and don't say anything, and then you have like a 10-minute conversation that's really deep, or 20-minute conversation that's really deep one time a year, or something like that.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah. And a lot
Yeah.
of women don't understand that, but men, that's how we are. Like my mom wants me to call her all the time. My dad and I probably talk once a year. But when we see each other face to face, it's like, we just, there's no gap,
Yeah, there's no gap.
there's no gap.
I think that's how a lot of men are too. Like I feel like a lot of my at least some of my best friends, it's just like, hey, I don't, as long as I check up on you like just once a year, we're okay. Then
Yeah.
we'll make that connection and then go our separate ways or whatever. But I feel like that's just I don't know, maybe it's just a guy thing. I mean, I don't know what it is, but that's just how I operate. And I guess since that's how you do it too,
Yeah.
there's that connection. But so from pain, you went and started to, so would you say you were one of those individuals that would just show up to the job at first and just like
At first,
at
it was
first, yeah.
really just, I just want to show up. I just want to get my paycheck and just peace out, because a lot of these people I didn't really want to connect with.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of them complain. A lot of them were just negative. They were stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
They're a lot older. A lot of older gentlemen who they know what they know, and you don't know more than they know because they've been doing it for X amount of years. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying? So any of these new ideas, new concepts just kind of bowl right over them. They don't want to be a part of that. It makes them feel uncomfortable. So me even speaking to them about these different ideas about social media and growing and getting outside of this 9 to 5 lifestyle, which really was more of a like 12 to 12
12 to 12.
when you're working like behind the scenes for these shows and stuff. These shows go long. Well, we
Yeah.
have to be there early, and we have to
You have
do
to,
everything afterwards.
yeah, you have to set up and then you gotta clean up.
Yep. For
Yeah.
sometimes weeks without a break. So it's,
Damn.
yeah. So that
Yeah.
gave me a lot of time to just journal and take notes. And I became a student. And I think honestly, that never left me. I will always be a student. I will learn from you. I will learn from anyone who's doing something that I think is valuable and that I can see as something that I can bring into my own life or system or whatever, or worth. I think that's very important for everyone, not just creators, but business owners, anyone who's trying to do anything in life. Always stay a student, always be someone who's looking to receive value, and be humble. Be humble about it. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, doesn't matter what you've gone through, and it doesn't matter who they are. If they know how to do something that you don't, I think it's easy for you to leverage that and find some kind of way where you can, bring value to them so that they can allow that to spill over into your cup a little bit, because that's
Yeah,
going to help you in the long run.
definitely. I mean, being a student is what I preach as well. So I'm glad we're on the same page. And I feel like a lot of most people, especially if they're entering that level of like, that realm of personal development and that realm of success, you have to stay a student, because if
Mhm.
you let your ego get to you, like I know this, I don't need to know something else, right? Then you can't really grow. You can't,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Because like at the end of the day, like you mentioned, there are people, whether they're older or younger, they know things, the people know things that you might not know, right? And
Mhm.
if you have this mentality that like, oh, I don't need to learn from this guy, then that's where your growth halts. And also in terms of your finances stay stagnant as well.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
going back to what is it called? You going getting kicked out of the military and then switching from like just showing up to like, let me soak up as much as I can and start to network with these people, right? Today, if you don't mind me asking, right, I can cut this off today, right? I just
Okay.
want to know, I'm just interested, like, if you're comfortable with saying it, like, how much would you say you make on a month to month basis now, on average? Would you say in 2022?
Honestly, so right now I'm kind of doing like a different type of like structure right now, because I'm
Yeah.
going to be coming out with a lot of different digital products. I'm coming out with a course, I'm coming out with an ebook, and I'm working with some people who do a lot of these sales type marketing things that I don't understand when it comes to like Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff. I'm more of an organic, but right now I'm taking a huge cut because
Okay.
I'm working with a agency right now who does, I'm trying to like not speak too much about that, like I don't want to get into the NDA stuff, but this agency does a lot of the videos for a lot of big names right now. So
Yeah.
I'm editing a lot of these videos through this agency for these big names. And just like you said, learning, right?
Yeah.
So I have decided to team up with this guy who owns this agency for at least for myself a small period of time, unless he offers any bigger positions, so I can learn his process, so I
Mm.
can kind of duplicate it for the lesser groups, for my own audience. So for the last, I think we started back in February, I've been working with him, and I think I would like to probably cut off here in maybe August or so. I'm not sure, just depends on what our discussion. I'm going to meet with him today, actually.
Okay.
He flew into Vegas, and he's here to record one of his clients. And I man, I wish I could talk about this stuff.
Now
But
you're good.
because I know you know who these people are.
Yeah, probably
And
do.
yes, so I'm gonna meet with him later on this evening and kind of have our little chat and see what we can do and stuff like that. But I'm looking to kind of, like I said, we talked about before, get my time back, you know.
Mhm.
So right now I look at this as an opportunity for me to learn, because you see my content, it attracted you, and it's been attracting a lot of people. I've been growing a little bit by testing different things in myself that I've been doing like nonstop, like 25 videos a week for other people.
Mm.
And
A week. Wow.
yeah,
God damn.
yeah.
Wait, like, and are we talking about reels or we're talking about like long form content?
Reels, dude,
Okay,
reels.
reels. I thought you were
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
25 videos of like 8 minutes.
No, yeah, it's a
That'd be
lot. It's like
impossible.
each video is like a minute long, but you're cutting it from like timestamps, like clips,
From
like
clips from
podcast
like
clips and stuff.
podcasts.
So you
Yeah.
got to go in and do all that stuff. So it's like
Oh
five
yeah.
videos a day.
Oh yeah, we know. Yeah, I know. Like for us, like we're not that fast. It takes us like fast as 90 minutes to sometimes 2-3 hours. Like it really
Mhm,
depends on
mhm,
like what type of clips they are. But yeah, like that's, and the going back to what we were saying before, a lot of people underestimate like the time it takes to edit they think a 1 minute, bro. It's not 1 minute video. It is not a 1 minute video.
It's
People
like an
don't
hour,
get it.
2 hours to edit one minute
Yeah,
video, dude.
exactly. So the fact that you're doing 25, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But hey, kudos to you. I mean, like, hey, you're living the dream, and of course, for yourself, trying to get your time back, right? And
Mhm.
so when you say get your time back, what's your plan to do so? Is it like building your own team, right? Going from like business operator to like a business owner type of thing? Because I know you said trying to learn the process for this business. Are you yourself trying to create an agency or anything like that?
I wouldn't say that I'm creating an agency, more as I'm trying to, here, I'll just tell you what my plan is. How about
Yeah,
this?
let's hear Mike's plans. Everybody, listen up so you know where this guy is.
All right, so this is my plan. Okay, so with all the skills and all the experiences that I've accumulated, what the big problem that I'm seeing right now is that a lot of creators want to get paid doing what they love, and a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for creators who can be consistent and create the style for their brand that they need, so that they can just literally step back. What I'm trying to create is a community of creators that kind of go through my training process, and then I can kind of spoon feed them and create that engagement, or I should say that initial contact for whoever solopreneur or entrepreneur needs their service. So I kind of
Oh,
want
okay.
to make it's not like an agency, but more like a,
You're like a school, kind
yeah, it's
kind of,
like,
right? Yeah,
but at the same time we do the full thing. We do the education, but then we also create the opportunity. We
yeah.
give them the opportunity. We don't just say, cool,
Mm.
now you're educated and now you go out and do the thing, because I have a network of people who need these
Oh
services,
yeah, there's a
but I
lot.
can't do it all for everybody, you know. but
Impossible.
but I can train people and then put my stamp of approval on them and then hook them up. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
So I have my own way of how I'm about to do this. Um, I'm not sure. I don't want anyone to take the idea, but hey, feel free to compete if you want to. Um, I'm been trying to build this app where I can kind of build this community where I can have my digital products on the app and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, have a different app, kind of like how Uber does. You know, Uber has the drivers app, but then they also have the Uber app for anyone who's a consumer. And my consumers, these solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who are traveling through Vegas, they don't have a videographer, but they need someone. You know, they would access my app, access my website, and be like, boom, hey, I need somebody who can obviously do the job and do all these things that I need. And they can just go through a list of pretty much like opportunities of like which pricing that they want to go for what kind of style or whatever. And then these people who are unavailable on the app can go get the gig and do that, and they already know their expectations and all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to build like a videography side of Uber in a sense, okay, for all creators. So that's where I'm
awesome.
heading. So I already have it kind of mapped out, and I've been working with some people to kind of build it and stuff like that, but it's going to take some time, obviously.
Oh yeah, just like anything.
Yeah, but I want to start with like my own small core of people that I've been working with for the last couple of years, and just start with this whole handful of small people. I mean, that's how everything started. That's how Airbnb started. That's how Facebook started. That's all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to like be huge like that. I'm just trying to solve a problem. And that's where I'm just starting from. It's just trying to solve a problem for my specific niche for my audience.
Wow. And I mean, like, I feel like there's a lot of people here that would need that services. So are you going international anytime soon? By the way, I'm in Canada.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Canadian friends, man. I have a lot of family up there in Toronto and Ontario. So
Oh, really? Really? So
yeah,
I'm based here. I should visit them. That's cool. That's cool. So, wow. So a big platform. And obviously like, it's like these individuals, I mean, a lot of people in the space of like videography and like video editing, these freelancers, the biggest problem that they always have is like lead generation, right? And so you have all these connections, all these people that need like they need some content, right? These big names or maybe not so big. But the fact of the matter is their zone of genius is not video editing or videography. So you're connecting this community of videographers, or at least training them, videographers, video editors, cinematographers, whatever you want to call them, and connecting them with individuals, I guess, such as myself, or, you know, is it still speakers, coaches?
That's kind of what I'm focusing on, is just the people who need that constant content for social media. So what I'm calling this is social media filmmaker. Okay. So I have the website, I have all the different tags and all the different social medias already. And I've been kind of building a small audience called social media filmmaker. And that's what the YouTube is going to be too, is the YouTube is pretty much going to be collaborations, kind of like how you see Impact Theory. I don't know if you know Impact Theory.
Tim Billy.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, so, Tom Billy, sorry.
Tom
Billy, yeah.
So I'm trying to do a creator version of that, where we do behind the scenes, working with people, all that kind of stuff, but then dropping all this knowledge of like business, like how you can leverage what we just taught you, the mindset stuff that you need to learn as a creator in 2022 and all that kind of stuff. So I've been working with lots of creators in Vegas. There's so many creators in Vegas, man. Like you need to come through sometime and
actually,
no.
I'm actually coming to Vegas next month. Actually, I have an event, network marketing events.
Yeah.
Then I'm attending. So maybe I'll hit you up. We're in Vegas.
Yeah.
Are you like on the strip?
Dude, it's a big little city. So I mean, it's a little big city, I should say.
Big city.
I'm about 15 minutes from the strip, and I'm about to move next month, July 15th. I'm moving closer to the strip. My roommate just bought a house. So yeah. So
That's
business
awesome.
tip. Do like Alex Hermosi, get yourself a whole bunch of business-minded roommates, get a house, rent a house together, do whatever you got to do. If you are a creative and you're looking to grow, You need to cut the gap between how much money you're spending. So you need to find people who are all like-minded and live together so that you have that kind of energy of like you're all working towards the same type of goals or same kind of system like that, and you're cutting expenses down, but then you're also not distracting each other with nonsense, like going out
Yeah.
and partying and all this kind of stuff. You're always working, because I literally live in this chair, man. And you can see my green screen back here. I do VR stuff too, because I'm trying to leverage web 3.0, and I'm trying to see how as a creator we can step into that world. So I'm connecting with a lot of people who are already developing 3D worlds and all that kind of stuff, so I'm really trying to be ahead of the game this time around when it comes to whatever social media decides to do with VR, and then how to like leverage that for entrepreneurs, coaches, and speakers and professionals, so that they can have some type of footprint in that space as well. So yeah, man, there's a lot.
Has
There's a
some big,
lot.
yeah, some big stuff going on. Actually, funny you mentioned that, like, surrounding yourself with those business owners. So you're because I thought about that too. I said to some of the people that I work with, I'm like, yo, I should just buy a house here in Toronto. Like, let's all live together, right? And so funny thing is you're doing that.
Yep.
And so I'd honestly love to probably like do a follow-up interview or something on like how that's been going, and like,
Yeah.
the pros and the cons, because there's good and some bad, but obviously way more good. And it's so important to, obviously, and we've heard this, but for anybody who's watching, like, this is just something that there's a saying that goes like this, like, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
you did mention like in the past, especially when weed got legalized, right? Because of the proximity, because of the people you're around, slowly you became like who
Dude,
they
it's
were.
no
This,
joke. It's no joke. I am telling you, man. No joke, bro.
yeah. And so,
Who you are around affects you, just because it's just like, okay, so I mean, if you go in the bathroom and you see yourself in the mirror every day, and if you're not enjoying what you're seeing, it's going to affect you, right?
yeah.
Now imagine if that person in the mirror always like said whatever they were thinking, and it was something that you typically weren't wanting to think or do, but they were always like every single time, bah, bah, bah. Like it gets repetitive, dude. And after a while, just like water to a cliff, it breaks down. It breaks down.
Mm, and it just starts to, and like, again, you start to develop their standards, their
Mm-hmm.
habits, whether you believe it or not, right? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, well, it's true, it's like everybody should believe it. I mean, like, especially as with parents, if parents, like, they don't want you surrounding yourself with like troublemakers, because they know that you will step into their standards and you're going to become a troublemaker. So it's
Right.
the same thing. It's the same thing with like building wealth, right? Like, you surround
Mm-hmm.
yourself with people who are on a mission, obviously not like chasing money, but to do good for the world and to be better, to solve problems, like you're doing. Like you said, you want to be a problem solver in your
Mm-hmm.
specific community, right? The wealth
Mm-hmm.
wealth will come after, right? And surrounding yourself with these like-minded individuals, that's how you get to the next level. I mean, that's a big key to success, a
It's
big key to
huge.
success, right? And so, that's one of the reasons, like, when I moved out, because it's not because I had a big argument with my parents, but it's more so like they weren't on the same journey as me. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore I was like, man, I need to step away from this. Not just my parents, but other individuals that I grew up with. Like, they didn't have the same mindset. Not saying that their mindset was bad, but it wasn't at the level that I wanted to get to.
They
So
didn't want to grow,
I
right?
didn't want
They
to grow,
didn't.
at least at the time. At the time when I was choosing to, when I left, at that time they didn't want to grow. They just wanted to live that comfortable life. But I didn't. I knew there was something bigger. I knew there's something better out there. But there's only one way to like go get it. I have to leave where I was to go find where I needed to be. Right. That's why they say if you want to take the island, you gotta burn your boats. And when you moved to Las Vegas, that's what you did, right? You burned those boats, and
I
that's how you.
burned I burned every single boat, dude. I didn't have a choice. The military makes you burn everything, including the relationship I was in at the time. Distance pulled a lot of strings, and it also strengthened the strings that came in place of those old strings. So
Mhm.
it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, like, is how you use it. How do you look at it? I always look at different things. I just actually was listening to this lady speak the other day. Very well-known network marketer by the name of Coach Stormy. And
Mhm.
she was talking about how you should change what you say to the people who kind of like leave you or who are trying to pull you down. Instead of saying, like F you to them, say thank you. Because honestly, by saying thank you, it's kind of giving you something instead of them taking something from you,
Mm,
like instead of
I
releasing
like that.
your power through the fu, by saying thank you, it's almost like saying watch me, because I'm about to do something with what you just gave me, this pain that you just gave me, the struggle that you just put upon me. Thank you so much for building me up, for giving me a challenge to grow, an obstacle for me to get around, so that when I come back, you won't recognize me because of how much I've grown.
So
To
thank
me,
you.
thank you.
Mm,
Yes.
wow, that's super powerful. And like, like I mean, you probably heard of a guy named Tony Robbins, right? You had to.
Funny story with Tony, but that you can, let's talk again about. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. But like, and going
Love the
back
hat
to,
too, by the way, because obviously Tony rocks that.
yes, oh yeah, of course, it's the Tony hat out here. But going back to what Tony Robbins always says, he says, life happens for you, not to you. Right. So all the negativity that you go through, all the BS, the bullshit, and like Gary Vee says, all the shit that you're gonna eat, that shapes you as a person, and that's what helps you become the individual you are today. And without those things that happen in our life, right, you wouldn't be who you are today. So that's how I also view it as well. That's a thank you to them too, not just for them giving me a challenge, but for them shaping me to become an individual that has stepped out of my comfort zone, been able to make the money and the impact and the influence that I've had today. And so another thank you. Cheers to those who have given us a lot of hard times, struggles, because
Yep.
we are where we are today because of everybody who has impacted our lives, whether it's good or bad, right?
They're lessons, man.
They're lessons, right?
Lessons.
Right.
Lessons that create value.
For sure, for sure. Well, yeah. So it's been like an hour, and I mean, like, I feel like we could talk forever.
Just
But
do part two sometime, bro.
yeah, we'll do a part two, 100%, 100%. But just before we end off this podcast, what type of advice? I'll leave the floor to you, but any advice you would love to give these aspiring entrepreneurs that may be listening, right? What advice? What's that, like one or two advice that you might have for these individuals?
I would say the switch that really took me from struggling to find out what I wanted to do is just finding the purpose, as in, what is my why? And I think a lot of us have naturally figured that out for ourselves. But there was a book called, You're Finding Your Why.
Yeah.
And by Simon Sinek, right?
I have it right here. Wait, let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
find it. I don't know where it is.
I don't know if I'm saying his last name right.
Yeah, you're saying his last name right? Simon Sinek. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
where it is, but it's somewhere here. I just know. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Find your why. Yeah. Go ahead.
And when you find your why, as in the reason to do whatever it is that you need to do every day, the reason that gets you out in the morning, the reason that gets you up out of bed, despite the negativity or whatever you've gone through or have gone through, it can really pre-frame. It can pre-frame you in a way to where opportunities can just walk through your door. But you have to set it up. So if you don't know what your why is, you don't know why you're doing anything, I would say you need to start there. And once you figure out a strong enough why that kind of intimidates you, the other people look at you and you're like, okay, whatever. Like that's just ridiculous. Then you're on the right track, man. And I'm not just trying to like put in words to be inspiring. I'm telling you my truth. Because when I really sat down and thought about, I want to impact people's hearts, not just because I have a lot of money and I can just give away stuff like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I want to do is I want to accumulate funds so I can create stories, create these films, create these videos so that it does that internal connection with these people. That's my why. I want to change the world for the better by creating a positive impact on people's hearts and souls and eternities. From my belief, I believe in God, I believe in an afterlife, and I believe that people need to see that life is supposed to be something beautiful and meaningful instead of just a party and a YOLO lifestyle. Yes, you only live once, but you live once with purpose. You don't live once and blow up.
For
so
sure.
so
So
this is stage one, man.
yeah, so
Find your
stage
why.
one, find your why. So for those who struggle to finding that why, right? I know a lot of people, I know you said like, just that's where you start.
Mm-hmm.
But I know some people in my life, they're on that journey to finding their why, but they still haven't found it. And
Mm-hmm.
so what would you have to say to those individuals that started, they know they have to look for it, but they still haven't found it yet, and they're kind of they're getting frustrated, they're getting a little depressed at times. What would you have to say? What type of advice would you have for that individual?
Your why isn't going to come out and smack you in the face. It's not going to be something that one day it's like, hey, I'm here. Now you can be passionate. Now you can have some energy to go do something great. Here's your opportunity right here in this box. Been waiting for you. Just got caught up in the supply chain. But it's really about going out and testing things. You need to put yourself in environments where you are challenged. Try something that is of interest. Say yes a little bit more often, just to kind of put yourself in situations that you're
Mhm.
uncomfortable with, or things that you haven't done before, especially if you're just starting out and trying to figure out how to use your time. So right now you don't know what to do with your time. So instead of doing the same thing you've already done, change what you're doing. And in order to change what you're doing, just ask people, hey, if you need any help with something, hey, if you want me to come over here and do this, just do stuff by giving your time away to people, and they will find things for you to do. And one of those things may lead to something that you're interested in. An opportunity, maybe you might meet some people that are doing something that might perk an interest. Just get out of your own environment. Like we talked about before, we shifted our environments drastically. We burned boats. Maybe you don't know what island to go towards to burn anything yet. So what I'm asking you is just find people who have boats, who are sailing right now. Find people who are on the water sailing and just be around them. Maybe you can't get around them physically, so go online, go on Instagram, go on TikTok, go on YouTube, and stop just binging entertainment. Look for people who are actually doing stuff that just perks your interest, and find out what's their why. Why are they doing that? Start asking your questions in the comments, start asking in the DM, start following these types of people who have lifestyles that are interesting to you, and figure out why it's interesting to you. Really start challenging yourself of what's meaningful for who you are and what you went through. Because honestly, your story can help other people, but you don't know that yet, or you're figuring it out. And one day when you do find your why, that's going to help somebody else.
Wow. That is really good advice. And I feel like the individual that I know that's struggling to find their why, when they watch this video, for sure they're going to get inspired from the words you just said. And I love that analogy, like if you don't know what island to go to and you don't want to, that way, yeah, like if you don't have an island you can go to right now, because obviously you don't really know what your why is, go to other people who already have those boats, who already found their why. And from there things might happen, right? And I love what you said, just say yes, yes, say yes more, say yes more, say yes more often, to the point where you'll find exactly what your purpose is. And yeah, man, awesome. Well, Mike, loved you on the podcast. Hope it came up to some expectations of yours. I don't know, we just kind of like
No, I
spontaneously
love
did
I
some.
love this stuff, man. I love it. I love it. I do this on my Zoom calls with my clients and prospects, and I love diving deep because the world needs it right now. They need genuine, authentic
Mm,
connections, and we need to be vulnerable. We need to ask, and we need to talk and tell and share.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. And definitely a part two, maybe in part 50 one day.
Dude, let's come up together. I don't care. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we can talk for 2 hours on this book right here. Well, yeah, thank you again, Mike. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your brother, and we'll stay in touch. And before you go again, where can people find you on Instagram? I know you're on Instagram, but what's your handle? Is it the same everywhere else?
You can find me at Mychal Fox on Instagram, and I believe, yeah, I would say just start with Instagram and it'll be linked up to everything else. So just message me on Instagram. YouTube is Myk Life, MYKLIFE on YouTube. I'm gonna be putting out some stuff here soon, hopefully within the next month or so, kind of getting everything kind of rebranded and restructured to kind of go after what I shared with you guys about creating a community on social media filmmaker. So, hey, if you're looking as a creator to grow and start with a community of people who are like-minded like you, social media filmmaker is the place to do that. We will connect and create some awesome content together and grow together.
There you go. If you want to be rich, talk to Mike. No, more than that. I'm just joking, but way more
rich
than
in
that.
mind, rich in heart, rich in community.
There you go. You saved me. Okay. There you go, guys. Myk Fox, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. And we'll chat.
Appreciate you, brother. God bless.